Hi, and welcome back to Dragonfly Paranormal on YouTube. Today I'd like to share a personal experience with you and then ask you some questions, and I kind of would like your input in any comments that you may have on the subject. But 3 years ago, December 16th, 2013, I had a near-death experience. The cardiologist told me that when I went through the door, my heart had also stopped. And I had suffered a second heart attack. I had had one years prior. They literally were seconds from calling a code on me. But as soon as they were able to put a tube down my throat and start an airway, my heart started again on its own. I spent 15 hours in a medically induced coma for the most part, while in ICU on a ventilator. But during that time, my deceased mother, my deceased sister, and an angel visited me. And while they didn't speak with their mouth like I'm speaking to you now, I could hear their voices. But if it makes any sense, I could feel what they were saying to me, not necessarily hear it. And they stayed with me. Now, by the time my husband was able to leave work and get to the hospital, when he got there, I was struggling, I was fighting, I had to be restrained, even though I was unconscious and knew nothing. And he said that he kind of knows at what point my family arrived with me in the ER and followed me through to ICU, because I calmed, I quit fighting, and I just let the machine do the work, and I wasn't fighting. I wasn't trying to rip the tube out. I wasn't doing any of that anymore. Through it all, I mean, they were there. They spoke to me. I could not. Joe said he spoke with me. That never registered. But my mother, my sister, and this angel took turns spending time with me during those 15 hours and staying with me. The final one to be with me was the angel. And I distinctly remember saying to her, "It's time I went back now, isn't it?" And her smile and the glow that came off her, that's the only word I can use. It was a radiance, and her nodding, "Yes, it's time." And then I'm being told that I need to swallow so that they can pull this tube out of my throat, as they were bringing me out of this medically induced coma and allowing my lungs to actually work for themselves then. And anyway, all of this experience got me to thinking, had my husband sat in that ICU ward with me with a spirit box and a recorder, would I have been able to communicate with him? Was I that far gone during that time? And at what point, people like that, does their spirit leave? At what point? Is it at the last breath? Or is it before then in some cases? I tried an experiment, and I went through, and I mean, you get some of it off of headlines, like the Bobby Christina Brown. She was one of the ones. I had 75 people that were my test subjects. And so they come over Facebook. You see them all the time. Prayers for. And some of them, when you read, you know, your gut just tells you this is a temporary thing. Others, you know that it's not temporary. There is no coming back from what they have suffered. There is none of that. So I picked, like I said, I picked 75 that you knew there was no coming back from. I picked 25 names and people in situations where it was temporary, like mine was. And I spent days attempting EVPs on these people. And not once, not from the temporary ones, and not from the ones like Bobby Christina Brown, that there was no coming back. Out of all of them. So, in my conclusion, I say that, all right, death is not necessarily when the brain is dead. It's when your heart has beat its last, which a lot of people, have posted what their theories were about this subject, and now I have to agree. It is when your heart has beat its last. And I'm just curious if any of you have suffered a near-death experience like I did, and did that reaffirm your curiosity in the afterlife and EVPs, or did suffering a near-death experience, is that what spurred you into learning about the afterlife, and is there an afterlife? And I would be very interested in any input that you would have here on YouTube and over on Facebook, and start this discussion going. And what are your thoughts? What are your feelings on this? And have you ever conducted any experiments similar to this? And if so, what were your results? Thank you so much for spending time with me. Please remember to click subscribe down below, and I look forward to having more conversations with you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.